everybody, and happy Monday. It is a beautiful day in Cape Town. In fact, I woke up to a rainy day, and for me, that is, so one of the best days ever. So you catch your English teacher in a very good mood this morning. So, welcome again to the grade 12 English First Additional Language lesson. So, I see you there, Lesedi. Good morning. So I hope you've had a good weekend. All right. So we are going to have to start. So the rest will have to catch us somewhere in the middle. Okay. So what we're going to do today, we'll be revising paper 1. Okay. In particular, section A. So that would be your comprehension. Okay, and visual text. Okay, so I know you've done this lesson before, so this is pretty much just revising and focusing mainly on exam questions. Okay, all right. Okay, so content for today then would be giving you guidelines to assist you in reading for meaning, answering techniques. So we will go through 5 skills that will improve your reading skills. And then, as I've said, revise paper 1, section A. Okay. Great. Okay, so this is what your paper 1 looks like, okay, in an exam. So question 1 would be, comprehension. Okay, and then there we have text A and B. Okay, so prose text as well as the visual text. Okay, so visual text might be 6 marks, but 6 marks is a lot. Okay, so we need to focus on all these sections. But as you can see, section A, so the most marks you will score in comprehension. And then for question 2, we do, so you would construct or do a summary, okay, which we will practice tomorrow. And then section C would be language, structures, and conventions, okay? And then we will continue then, so question 3, you see advertisement there, cartoons, prose extract, and visual extract. So there's lots to score there. I think paper 1, I can say was one of my favorite. In fact, it was my favorite of papers because, so comprehension is quite easy to score marks there. You know, you don't need to think too much. You make use of the information that you get. You know, so so that is our focus for today. All right, and so now we're going to look at important reading skills, which are about finding the main idea, making inferences, understanding vocabulary, context, determining the writer's purpose, as well as determining the author's tone. So we are going to break that up. Okay, so just to start off, so the first one, or the first skill, would be finding the main idea. So this amounts to a brief but complete summary of the text. Okay, so it covers everything the paragraph talks about, but nothing in particular. So so you get basically just the main idea of the sentence. Of the text. Okay, and then making inferences. So we've spoken about that, especially in paper 2. So an inference is an assumption that's based on specific evidence. So you make, as I've said, I always say, you make use of the information that you are given in the text. So the meaning is not stated directly. So an inference is an educated guess, okay? Not just a guess, but educated. You need to show evidence that you used information that you were given, okay, to so you use that as a reference in order to make a guess, or that educated guess. Okay, so for example, we make inferences all the time in real life. So if I could give you an example, so your girlfriend might say to you, for example, nice jeans, and you could infer that she is being rude because she was grinning, when she said it. So, so there's a lot that you can, a lot of information that you can get from, what is exposed or what you are exposed to. So green can mean something or can make you assume or conclude on something. So it is pretty easy to infer the implied meaning, so that the meaning is not stated directly, because you can use contextual clues like body language. In this case, a grin says something, a tone, or a tone and gesture as well. So it can be used. So you are able to determine the real meaning of something if you're able to make sense of that body language or the tone or gestures. Okay. So the writers of reading comprehension, they really love to ask inference questions. So you will need to practice your inferencing skills to answer comprehension questions. Okay. So for example, the questions will be according to the article. Okay. So a question would start like that, according to the article, or they might say, with reference to the passage as a whole, explain. Remember, we did that even in last week, in the questions last week, with reference to the passage as a whole. And then another question, or how else it can be phrased, would be, which of the following statements is best supported by the message? Okay, or suggest a reason why. So these questions need you to come to a conclusion based on the evidence or support that is presented by the passage. Okay, so that would be making inferences. Then the third skill, so we'd say understanding vocabulary in context. For me, this is a big one. Okay, so most reading passages will include vocabulary that you've never heard before. So instead of stressing, um, what you can do is just understanding the words based on the context of the passage. So the context will give you a clue as to what that word means. Okay, we will just do a few exercises to practice that. Okay. So the words, the clauses, and phrases around the unknown vocabulary word will give you an idea. So we call that the context, okay? Or we call them contextual clues, okay? All right, but we will do an exercise, as I've said, on that, okay? All right, and then the fourth one, determining the writer's purpose, okay? So in most reading comprehension sections, you'll be required to answer questions about the author's intention to write the text, okay? So for example, author's purpose would sound something like, the reason he or she chose to act in a particular way, whether that's writing the passage or selecting a phrase or using a word, etc. Or the why behind the author's picking up a pen or selecting those words in the first place, you see? So you determine what the author was trying to accomplish or what he was trying to achieve by looking at the language he or she used when writing. So, for example, you'll be asked, about the purpose of the author to compare. Right. So you would say the author wanted to show similarities between ideas. And then if you want to express contrast, then you would say the author wanted to show differences between ideas. And then if you want to express, criticism, then you would say maybe the author wanted to give a negative opinion of an idea. Or when we say the author describes or illustrates, we would say that the author wanted to paint a picture of an idea. Okay, and then when we say that the author explains, then we would say the author wants to break down an idea into simpler terms and then identify or list, then we would say the author wanted to tell the reader about an idea or a series of ideas. And then we've got, if we're going to use the word intensify, or the author intensifies, then we would say the author wants to expand and go deeper into an idea. And lastly, if we say the author suggests, then we would say the author wants to propose an idea. Okay, so that's all about determining the writer's purpose. Okay, and lastly, we've got determining the author's tone. So it is very helpful to know what the author's tone is in a newspaper article, for example, or if you are presented with a blog or an email, and even a Facebook post. Okay, so a message can be misinterpreted, and things go wrong if you don't understand the basics of tone. Okay, so it's important for us to just understand what is meant by the tone. Okay, and so the author's tone, we would say, is the author's attitude to a written subject. Okay, so it is quite different from the author's purpose. Okay, so it's the quality or the pitch of the voice that conveys that emotional message of the text. Okay, so in a written text, then it is achieved through words. So you would need to just identify those words that give you an idea of the author's tone. Okay. Right. And yeah, so what is it time? Okay, 9:15. So just maybe just going back. Um, okay, maybe we can do this, and then we will just go back to what would be expected in your exam. We'll do that just before we do the exam questions. But I would like us to just just try this vocabulary exercise. So these are new words. Most of them you will find are new to you. Okay, and I would like you to figure out. Okay, so what so the meaning of the word. Okay, so as it says there, if you look at the first one, the little girl was showing signs of ocular problems. She squinted to read the blackboard and complained of headaches after working on the computer for too long. Okay, so we see squinted. You would think, okay, if you squint your eyes, so that has to do with eyes, right? So ocular in this case would mean ocular problems would mean visual problems, okay, or optical problems. Okay, so find words that will give you a clue as to what the word that you're looking for means. And then if you look at the second one, from long ago to the present day, um, the moon has been thought to cause lunacy. You're thinking, what on earth does lunacy mean? So let's look at the rest of the sentence or the passage. Some studies have shown this momentary insanity does have some association with the moon's phases. Okay, so lunacy, as you can see, so it has to do with insanity or madness. Okay, and then third one, the old man's hair was sparse rather than thick and full, like it was when he was young. So we see rather than thick and full. So sparse, then in this case would mean meager or insufficient, because rather than indicates a contrast, then opposite. So it's not thick and full. So if it's not thick and full, then it has to be meager or insufficient in this case. And then fourth one was Jani, or Yanni rather, Jani. Yanni was devout as the Pope himself. So we would say there, if you think Pope, okay, so then it would make sense if we think of that word as sincere or heartfelt. Sentence 5, my sister Kimmy shows a great, aberrance for crowds, whereas my little brother Michael loves to be the center of attention. So whereas, you see there, you're comparing, and there's a contrast there. So it has to be opposite. So we would say their hatred or loathing. Okay, so she does not like crowds, whereas his brother loves being the center of attention. Okay, and then next scenario, when you admonish someone, you point out his or her errors. An example would be scolding a child for misbehaving. Admonish then would mean in this case to warn or scorn. Okay, then we continue to the next one. The sorcerer's minions were willing to perform any sorcery he taught them. Minions, in this case, willing to perform will give you a clue there. So in this case, minion means followers or slaves. And then next one, 97 pairs. Oh my goodness. Uh, so who has 97 pairs of shoes? So 97 pairs is a superfluous number of shoes. So what would that mean? In this case, so 97 pairs is giving us a clue there. So would mean unnecessary or surplus in this case. Okay, then ninth, busy as a bee and quiet as a mouse are hackneyed phrases, and they are used all the time. So used all the time, so they are used all the time would be a contextual clue there, meaning worn out or a cliche. Lastly, Amelia was pretentious as a princess when she arrived at the party. So she tossed her coat to the hostess and grabbed a drink out of a nearby guest's hand. Okay, so you can see, paints a picture, so showy, she was ostentatious as well. So always look for phrases, okay, so which we call contextual clues, and those will help you determine what these words you don't know are. Okay. Okay, then we continue. Okay, so now we are going to have a look at text A, so that would be comprehension. All right, and so just to give you a few tips there. So as I've said, so text A and text B will be part of section A of paper 1. Okay, and so what you need to do is just make sense of what you read and respond to, okay? And also just understand the literal meaning and the deeper figurative meaning of a text. Okay, so read for understanding, basically. Understand the writer's intention or purpose in writing the text, and also appreciate the text and reach conclusions by forming your own opinions about the text. That shows that you understand the text if you can do that. And also evaluate the effectiveness of the text in terms of its purpose. Okay. And so also when reading the exam questions, it's important to just read them very carefully. Read the instructions very carefully so that you understand what the examiner requires you to do. Okay. Don't panic. Don't rush. Don't take too much time, but please do give yourself time to understand the text. Okay. So read through an exam extract very carefully so that you gain the most understanding of it, okay, or from it. And then also just read the exam questions carefully so that you understand how to answer them. So don't jump for an answer, okay, because you look at the marks as well and see exactly what is required of you, okay? So if you understand the instructions, then you are already 60% there, okay? Right. Do we have a volunteer to read us text A? Anybody? So I see. Okay, welcome, guys. I see you joined us. So anyone would like to read the text? So you can just indicate by raising your hand. So anyone who would like to read the text for us? We have Nesta, we have Lesedi, we have iPad person. So anyone would like to read? Or must I read for you? Okay. All right, I shall do that then. I don't see anyone indicating. Okay, so I will do that. iPad. Okay. iPad, what is your name? Because that's all I can see. I see iPad. Okay, so you may do the honors. I'm going to unmute you. So as soon as you're ready, then you can read, okay? Okay, great stuff. Okay, so you can start. Hi, your mic is on, so you can start reading.
In South Africa, more than 8 million children currently receive social grants from the state. The Department of Social Welfare regards 1.5 million children as orphaned or vulnerable, but only 500,000 of these children have been placed in foster care, leaving a large number still waiting to be placed. Another cause for concern is that 20,000 households in our country are headed by children. Only 1,900 children are adopted in South Africa every year. Poverty is often a root cause of child abandonment, threatening the hopes and dreams of these innocents. A mended pair of pants still shows its damage, and so it is with children who adapt to their environment but carry scars with them throughout their lives. Yet every so often, someone comes along and does a great patch-up job. They say home is where the heart is. For the children of House Jeremy or Jerome, I think, in
Mhm.
Irene, the joy on their faces is proof of this. At first glance, you would not know that many were abandoned in dirty toilets or on rubbish dumps. The family home of Basil and Delia Fernie serves as a shelter for abandoned babies and children seeking crisis care. Living in a household with 10 children who are not your own seems like a job for an abnormal person. Why would anyone choose this lifestyle? For the past 28 years, they have opened up their home to more than 300 children, nurtured and cared for them. Their purpose is to provide a stable place of safety, which will help prepare these children for long-term foster families or potential adoptions.
Mm.
The Fernies are a happy couple with a good sense of humor. After many years of being involved in children's ministries, they establish House Jerome as a as a means to help children in need. With 4 biological children already, their home became a playground filled with love and dedication. I noticed
Mm.
Basil drinking coffee out of a mug with a picture of a teddy bear on it, which seems like a job that could truly drive a person insane. Is it is in actual fact the source of peace and contentment in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Please continue.
I'm seeing
Okay.
one page.
Okay. Do you see? Okay, I've just changed. Can you see number 7? One such
Yes.
example. Yeah. So you can continue.
One such example is the story of Jerome. At only 10 days old, he was taken to House Jerome and set up for a possible adoption. It is just a coincidence that the little boy carried the same name as the shelter. This encouraged the Fernies to adopt him as their own. Jerome was one of the first adoptions by a family from a different race. A decision that was unheard of before the 1994 elections has become a worldwide trend in recent years. Jerome confesses his upbringing was never focused on growing up with white parents. I am here, this is me, and this is my home. My family is just as normal as yours. Jerome has had to face a number of challenges in his life, such as attention deficit disorder, ADD, academic failure, and a struggle with drug addiction. Now 19, he's an optimistic young man about to write his matric. Delia notes that even though these children come with baggage, you cannot blame rejection for a child's wrongdoings. In the end, it was her love and commitment that saw Jerome through his teenage troubles. The family works closely with social workers to ensure a detailed screening process is done before all placements, and the majority are given the gift of a happy ending.
Mm.
While some come and go, for Basil and Delia, the joy lies in seeing how the child has grown and knowing they played a role in making a difference. Adapted
Mhm.
from Sentence Book 2010.
Thank you so much. Well done. Perfectly done. Thank you so much for that. Okay.
Pleasure.
All right then. Okay, so we will hopefully everybody, okay, read along in silence, and hopefully you understand or you get the gist of the text. If I'm just going to go back a bit, so yeah. Oh, in fact, we're going to go straight to the questions, and then I will keep going back and forth. The text, okay. So referring to paragraph 1, so the question is, who is responsible for giving the numbers of orphaned or vulnerable children? So what is the answer there? So you can just type it. Okay, so you can just type it in the chat section, or if you'd like to raise your hand, you may do so. So who is responsible for giving the numbers of orphaned or vulnerable children? So so as it says, so a large number of children are awaiting foster care or adoption. Identify another social problem mentioned in the paragraph. Okay, so this is another one. So let's start with this one. So who can answer this one? So who's responsible for giving numbers of orphan or vulnerable children? So I'm just going to go back so that you can see paragraph 1. So what is your answer there? What is your answer there? So, so this one would be an easy one. So it's literally just looking for that information. So that would be the Department of Social Welfare, right? or you can say social welfare department or social welfare. So all those will be accepted. All those answers will be accepted. Okay. And obviously when you are writing your exam, so it helps to just read the passage again, okay? Don't just read it once. I know because now we are live, we've only done it once, but in an exam setting, give yourself time to read the passage again, okay? So for better understanding. Okay, so yeah, so that was the first answer. And then the second question. A large number of children are waiting foster care or adoption. Identify another social problem mentioned in this paragraph. So that would be in the first paragraph, and do not quote. So you basically write in your own words as you understand it. So identify another social problem mentioned in this paragraph. So I'm quickly going to go back. What is the other social problem that is mentioned there, do you think? Anybody? So you can just type, okay? Just type. And if you are already ahead of us and maybe you see another question, you can just type them and then, or just type your answers. And then I will read them as we go. Okay, so Lesedi says orphaned children. Okay. Yes, so it says that about 20,000 households are headed by children, okay? Or you can say, or many children are in charge of households or families, okay? All right, so thank you, Lesedi. Okay, so third question. Or question 1.2 rather, choose the correct answer to complete the following sentence by using the word only in sentence, or rather line 6. The writer is emphasizing that the number of children adopted is acceptable, too small, incorrect, or too large. So what do you think? The use of only there. Definitely. Thank you, iPad. iPad, what is your name? Because I can't keep calling you iPad now. Yeah, so the answer, according to iPad, is B. So yes, it is. The number is too small. Okay. Thank you, Sean. All right, great stuff. Okay, and then number 2, refer to paragraph 2. Using your own words, explain what is meant by the phrase root cause. Okay, so you refer to both words, okay? So it's the phrase, not the word. So what do we mean by the word, or rather the phrase root cause? So what do we mean by that? The root cause. So let's go back to the paragraph. No, go back. So paragraph 2. Poverty is the root cause of child abandonment. So what do we mean by that? By this expression? Anybody? So root cause there, we would say, okay, in the nick of time. Okay, it means that, so Sean says it means that it is the underlying factor. There you go, with the greatest effect, yes. Perfect. So underlying underlying factor, right? Or we could say the basic reason, all right? You can either say that, or we could say the thing that leads to abandonment. Okay, so good job there, Sean. And let's go to the next question. Explain why the writer compares a mended pair of pants to children who carry scars with them. A mended pair of pants. So explain why the writer there compares a mended pair of pants to children who carry scars with them. So I'll go back just quickly so you can see the context. So a mended pair of pants. So what do you think? So why does the writer compare? Anybody, anybody, anybody? It's a very, very powerful way of expressing his point there. So we would say 2.2, when trousers are mended. So this is how you can answer it. So when trousers are mended, the stitches can be seen and they look like a scar, right? So in the same way, okay, so children who have been damaged may have emotional scars. So we see an answer there. Okay, because, so Lesedi says, because the scars represent the pain they still carry with them, exactly, which is, which they show, you can continue to say, Lesedi, which they show through their emotions, right? Okay, nicely done there. Thank you, Lesedi. Okay, we continue. Okay, so paragraph 3, quote 5 consecutive words from the text that support the idea that the children of House of Jerome are, is it Jeremy or Jerome? Are satisfied. So 5 consecutive, meaning one after the other, okay, following each other. So 5 consecutive words from the text that support the idea that the children of House of Jerome, I think, are satisfied. So we'll quickly go back, paragraph 3. So you have to find 5 consecutive words there. Okay. So what do you think? So what would be your answer there? Are we looking for 5 consecutive words? What do you think? What do you think? So there we would say, oh, sorry for that. So we would say the joy on their faces, right? So the joy on their faces, they would say. Okay, so that definitely expresses that, that they are satisfied, so they're happy. Okay. Filled with love and dedication. Not quite, Sean, not quite. So paragraph 3, so we would say they're the joy, because remember it says that you need to find the text that supports that the children, okay, that the children are satisfied. Okay, so the reference there is the children. Okay, so we're not referring to the home itself. Okay, so the home itself is filled with love and dedication. But in this case, the reference would be the children. Okay. So the answer there would be the joy on their faces. Okay. So it's really important to just look at, dissect each word in the question. Okay. And so that often, or in fact, that will always give you a direction, okay, or a guide as to how to best answer that question. Okay, we move on to number 4, refer to paragraph 4. Using your own words, say what Basil and Delia Furney's 2 long-term aims are in providing shelter for abandoned children. Okay, so let's repeat that question before we go back. So using your own words, say what Basil and Delia Furney's 2 long-term aims are in providing shelter for abandoned children. So that is paragraph 4. So let's quickly go back to paragraph 4. Okay, so in your own words, so how would you answer that? Waiting. I think this will be our last question. Then we will continue tomorrow with this. So can you guys just squeeze in an answer there? Or shall I give it to you? Let me give it to you. Okay, so we would say they prepare children to go to foster homes or to legally, or rather to be legally adopted. Okay, so that's how we can answer that one. They prepare children to go to foster homes or to be legally adopted. And you would score your 2 marks there. Okay. All right. Okay, we are going to have, we are going to conclude there for today, but we will continue. With the comprehension and visual text tomorrow. Okay, so we will continue on this, or we will continue with this tomorrow. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for waking up vroeg in the morning and joining the class. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. And so let's join again, same time, same place tomorrow. And have yourself a blessed day forward, and do join the rest of the classes on Lockdown School. Okay, thank you guys, and God bless. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.